All right.
Welcome, everybody. This is episode 3 of Amateur Hour with Tim, and Carter. Uh, Today's Good Friday as well, so special day here, special weekend coming up, but a lot to talk about in the news. So we had a handful of things that made the news recently since our last time we were together. Um, I think a couple of the biggest things, at least on my mind, is what's going on in Texas with the Carmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf situation. Tragic. I think everyone can agree on that. Unfortunately, that seems to be the only thing that everyone can agree on. Um, and then the fact that we have this senator from Maryland going down to El Salvador to try to retrieve a illegal immigrant gang member, alleged wife beater, and trying to bring him
Alleged
back to the
human
United States.
trafficker.
Alleged human trafficker, trying to bring him back to the United States. But at the same time, the man was silent, absolutely silent, when the constituent from his state, Rachel Morin, was murdered by an illegal immigrant. Didn't make a peep when that happened. Voted against the Lake and Riley Act. Uh, Quite
along with a
frankly,
lot of
it's
his colleagues,
along with
Yeah.
the entire Democratic Party, pretty much.
other than four of
Um,
them. Yeah.
but
The
yeah,
girl
it's
that was murdered in his state was also it was from an El Salvador illegal immigrant. Ironically enough.
it's really it's sad and it's sickening, but it needs to be discussed, I think. But
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
All sensitive topics. So,
very sensitive topics. I
yeah.
think obviously the what's going on in Texas, um, I think is sensitive, but it needs to be addressed. At least the facts that the way that I see them, and I think the way that you guys see them, it's quite frankly disgusting to me when you see the amount of uh, money and praise and media attention a cold-blooded murderer is getting, and that's quite frankly what he is based on everything that I've seen.
Yep. And I think I know we had passed around a couple of tweets yesterday that were coming out, and I mean it's clear. One thing that we've all kind of, I guess, bonded over, and like kind of the reason, one of the reasons why we started this podcast was to not only condense news into our short form podcast, but also try to get people to recognize these patterns that our media shoves down our throat. And a lot of people are kind of waking up to this more and more every day. And I think the more that we can get to wake up and have these discussions will help our country and help everyone. But clearly, I mean, we're seeing, like, from the left side of the media, and even the right side, like, it's almost like they are setting up another George Floyd type martyr situation. Like, and George Floyd, he was also a terrible person. Like, would he rob someone at gunpoint, put a gun in a pregnant lady's belly, and like drugs, beyond drugs, had drugs in the system. I won't go down that.
Well, they're all facts that they're true. And
Yeah.
the fact is the majority of people don't hear those things,
Yeah.
and that's the problem.
Yeah. And you can see from the fundraising efforts for Carmelo, like, there's still a lot of people still drinking the Kool-Aid.
I think for those that don't know, we should do a quick little synopsis of what exactly we're talking about regarding Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf was a senior in high school. I forget the name of his high school, but down in Frisco, Texas. He had a twin brother, and they were at a track meet. Carmelo Anthony is at a neighboring high school, but they both were attending the same track meet. There was apparently some words exchanged regarding the seat that Carmelo Anthony was sitting in. Austin Metcalf thought it was his seat. Anthony was sitting in it. Apparently, there was some type of exchange. I think at the moment it's unclear exactly what took place there, but bottom line was, over the seat, the bleacher seat, Carmelo Anthony stood up and stabbed the kid in the heart, and he died right there in his twin brother's arms.
Oh, he got him in the heart. I did not.
Got him right in the heart. Stabbed him right in the chest, and the kid died within like a half an hour. High school track meet. What are you carrying a knife for? Seems
Yes.
like at the very least second degree murder to me, at the very least.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there has been a significant amount of money raised for his defense and whatever else, over 400 grand at the moment, which is actually more that has been raised for the Austin Metcalf, the kid who died, for his funeral expenses, what have you. And there's a lot of people out there that are pretty much slandering this kid's name, calling him, a racist and a white supremacist. Obviously, there's no evidence of any of that, but you see it out there on Twitter and social media and whatnot. The father, Austin Metcalf's dad, actually came out a day or two after his son was dead and said that he forgave Carmelo Anthony for what he did, and
Yeah.
wanted to move on, and just it was tragic, but he forgave the kid. Then his bail got reduced from $1 million down to, I don't know, 250,000, I think. And there was over 400 grand raised from various outlets. I don't know if it was GoFundMe or not. I think I read somewhere that GoFundMe actually did pull it off, which would have been consistent with what they do across the board, but I'm not positive. But
Yeah, I think it
regardless,
was Go Send Go or whatever.
there was outlets out there that did raise a significant amount of money for him. Bail got reduced. He's out. Reports are saying that they've rented a house, some nice house down in Frisco, Texas, and acquired a new vehicle, yada yada yada. And it's a media firestorm, as you can imagine. And
Why did they rent a house? Do you know?
I don't
There's been
understand.
conflicting reports that it may be the same house they've. I mean, he did come from a good family and was a good student, and which is important, in the context of things. But so there's, in our typical media environment that we're in, there's conflicting stories. No one knows the real truth. But the biggest truth out there is that he stabbed an unarmed kid and killed him. It doesn't matter if he's
In the
white,
heart, in the
black,
chest.
purple, green. It doesn't matter. He has no shot of not going to prison for a long time in Texas. Unless your life is incredibly threatened, if they have their own weapon, if you're getting ganged up on by multiple people, like you can't stab and kill an unarmed person. It's that simple. So, I mean, unfortunately, the justice system will probably send him to prison, and it's going to cause a massive racial tension again, and the media is just going to dig their claws in, and just cause all this division, and it's just going to be George Floyd 2.0.
That's the only thing that they're trying to do, is just divide us, and that's it. And once we preface this whole podcast with, we all believe in America and Americans and equal rights and all this stuff, and this stuff keeps happening, and it's very discouraging. It's exhausting. I don't personally even like talking about it, but what they're doing in the media is very sick and sinister. Yeah. And it's time that everybody, you talked about people are waking up. Well, I think the people that are mostly waking up, they were truly asleep. They didn't care. They weren't politically inclined. They just lived their lives. But there is still a contingent that is completely stubborn and ignoring all of these facts. And I can't believe that anybody has such little pattern recognition to see how terrible what's happened over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And not trying to get off the subject, but it's just another little crumb that's just being fed out of the media to cause chaos. And they thrive. And I've dealt with it in my personal life, and it's, I've seen it in my career, and they're just doing it on a large scale that's very hard to believe, even for me.
Yep.
It's going to divide people again. And like you said, this will be potentially, it seems like it could be setting up to that way to be the next round of, BLM type riots. And
they'll say Trump's racist. They'll bring up what we were going to talk about too. They're going to bring up all the El Salvador. What's the guy's name in El Salvador?
Garcia. Yeah.
Abrego Garcia or whatever.
Abrego Garcia. And They're going to bring. I mean, that's another thing. The senator from Maryland going down there, making a spectacle of himself. It's a media event to sit down with this guy who is an alleged human trafficker, an alleged wife beater, an alleged MS-13 gang member here illegally. He's deported by mistake, supposedly. I don't even quite understand that, but he was deported. And they're trying to get him back. And they're trying to drag this man back. Meanwhile, this senator this Democratic senator from Maryland couldn't bring himself to address the poor young girl who was murdered by an illegal immigrant. Never reached out to the family.
She was raped and murdered.
Raped and murdered, and never reached out to the family one time when that happened. But
these are just puppets. He's a puppet.
Absolute puppet.
That guy is 100% the biggest soy boy I've ever laid my eyes on.
Here's what really
there's a lot of competition out there, but
he's right up
there. I had
there.
to unfollow some college people, not even really friends, just old acquaintances that were posting stuff about this. And I wanted to like maybe engage in a little conversation with them, but then I was like, it's just not worth it. If they can't see it yet, if it was a close friend maybe, but it was just a little frustrating to see like people getting upset. Even let's just say, let's say that we're completely wrong. Garcia is a great person and a great father and not a gang member, not a human trafficker. Let's say we deported him on accident and then we figure out it was, we need to right the wrong. Okay, fair enough. But I don't think that's the case from what I've seen. But why get so upset at Donald Trump for trying to get all the bad people that flooded the borders over the last 4 years?
Yeah, exactly.
After
how come there's never been one single article written by any of these left-wing media outlets that's praising
let everyone come through undocumented and catch and release and all that crap? Like, we wouldn't have to do this.
Exactly.
What they did to the people, so there are a lot of criminals and whatnot that came across the border, but what Joe Biden and that administration did to the people that did cross that border thinking that they were getting a better life, what they did to them is wrong. And it's not Trump's fault for deporting people that are here illegally. But those people, the Biden administration encouraged it, they allowed it, and they screwed over those people and those families. And I do feel bad for them. But that doesn't mean that good people that came in the right way shouldn't be here.
Absolutely not.
It's nuts.
Absolutely not.
I mean, it's very, that whole border thing that's all that anybody should ever have to look at.
The senator's name's Chris Van Hollen. I forgot his name while I was talking about it, but Chris Van Hollen from Maryland. He's the one who, on taxpayers' dime, flew down to El Salvador to try to have a sit down with this guy and made a media spectacle of it, drawing attention to himself to get the praise of the radical left and the Democratic Party. Went down there, sat with this guy, basically accomplished nothing except for got his face in front of a camera.
Did you see the pictures? They're like at a resort or something, having a nice lunch. Like, if this dude's being treated so inhumane by everyone over there.
Oh, yeah.
You got me fooled. How did he get out? How's he out? Is he even incarcerated? I have no idea. Like, how is he at a resort?
It looked like they were sitting at a restaurant practically.
Having a
drinking
delicious
margaritas.
Lunch with Chris Van Hollen and getting photos taken of it.
U.S. senators. This guy this guy couldn't bother himself to call the mother of the Rachel Morin, though. Votes against the Lake and Riley Act. I mean,
I don't know why or what it is, but he reminds me of the guy that sat down and was trying to encourage people to get the vaccine and saying, you get this hamburger.
Oh, that was you're talking about the mayor of
De Blasio.
De Blasio, yeah. De Blasio, yeah. Look at these French fries. I mean, that was one of the most cringeworthy videos of all time.
Cringeworthy is exactly what that was.
Cringeworthy.
We didn't talk about this, not to like switch subjects, but I don't know if you saw this morning, the White House, they updated covid.gov, the website, and it has a full thing on there about the lab leak and that it is confirmed and that if it was a natural born, whatever, human to animal to human, I'm not a scientist, but if it did naturally occur, scientifically, we would be able to prove that by now. And so basically, they're putting Fauci and all those other losers on blast that covered up for Wuhan.
I did see something. I saw something come across the wire about that, but I didn't read it. But it makes sense. Stuff we've known from the beginning.
Yep.
But you were a conspiracy theorist if you said it 4 or 5 years ago.
I'm going to be honest. Like, we'll see how China continues to react to this, negotiation that we're under with tariffs. But I'm pretty, I feel like if backed into a corner far enough, we may have talked about this on the last one, but China could release another one.
Oh, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. No, of course not.
They could just get upset and say, hey, we're just going to release another biological warfare weapon.
Yeah. Now that we're kind of on that tariff subject with China, one thing that, and I make sure that I'm saying this right too, fact check me, but these tariffs are being totally misrepresented. I was on the phone with a buddy today, and I was talking to him about this, and he used to be a purchaser up in New York for like Tommy Hilfiger and people like that. And he said, guess how much a shirt costs, basically a dress button-down shirt, to manufacture in China that they resell over here in the U.S. And I said, $5.
No.
He said $1.50.
Yep.
And what people aren't understanding is these tariffs are tariffed based on that price, not the $100 shirt that you're buying. It's based on the $3 that's being shipped over here for by the purchaser in the United States.
I could tell you, I had an iPad case company that I started a long time ago. I don't own it anymore,
but my point is that's something that people aren't totally taking into effect. They hear, a 50%, 100% tariff, yada, yada. Well, it's going to add $1.50 at 100% tariff to your shirt.
Yeah. I paid $5 for those and sold them for $50. Now I had to pay freight and tariff and whatever, but like $5. So
yeah,
if I'm getting charged 50% more, then I'm going to have to eat, $2.50.
That's interesting, Tim. I didn't realize that either. That's good to know.
All the economists on CNBC, they're out there basically basing the new pricing assumptions on products and goods on the MSRP, not on the cost. They know what they're doing. It's just completely reckless.
Scare tactics.
People just eating it up, just like, oh my gosh.
It's fascinating that we're living in this time. It's, I've never let anything like get to me too much. This got to me this whole 5 years. Like I just started getting pissed. And I couldn't even explain it to myself or to people. They're like, what do you care? You're not in government. It doesn't affect you. You're well off.
It affects us.
I'm like, no, we're being treated like robots and just like slaves.
Children.
All of us, children.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, and that's the main thing is when you see like talking about like we have kids, Carter, going to school and what they're being taught and what's being said is okay. And I mean the difference between just in the last 10 years or so, that's scary. And that's the reason that you get so political is because you have to look out for the next generation because it's insane what the moral compass of this country has gone the wrong direction and people got to start waking up.
Yeah.
Yep. They do. It's I've already I have turned off CNBC probably the last 6 years of my life. I used to watch it all the time, but I still see them on Twitter and every day it is just like, boom, fear monger. They had Larry Fink on there. I think I sent y'all this. It was earlier this week. And he was like, we're going into a recession, blah, 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 blah. That dude is literally, I've read this book called Red Handed by Peter Schweitzer. He's like he runs this thing called the Government Accountability Institute. And he goes after Republicans, Democrats, anyone. I mean, he trashes Mitch McConnell for one, but that's
a good thing. That's a good thing.
But dude, Larry Fink is totally, he's what's called elite. It's called elite capture by the CCP. So they've allowed him to invest a lot in their market. You can't just openly invest in there. You have to get special approval. He's had, I think it was in his book, he talks about, it was maybe 7 years ago, but he had some guy on or he paid some guy to come give a speech at some big conference he had in New York City or some crap. The dude literally invented this facial recognition software that would help them figure out in a crowd who the Uyghurs were, so that they could sort them out and go send them to camps. And that's the guy that he had come speak at a conference. Like, he is like completely a communist. He's at the Davos Forum, just licking Klaus Schwab's boots. What do you want me to do, Daddy? I mean, he's there every year. It's disgusting. And now, I'm going off on a tangent, but here's what also drives me nuts. BlackRock's the largest fund manager in the world. And a lot of it is our 401ks. We may sign it off, Vanguard's one, Fidelity, but like they all kind of intertwine all these mutual funds. Most of their money is acquired through every month you send your 6%, goes to your 401k. Some of that money's touching these guys. And they can go and take all these positions in these companies, say like energy companies, and go in and go, you got to go green, you got to do this, or I'm going to take an activist position. So they can go in and like do all this terrible stuff with our retirement money. It drives me crazy. And I feel like Trump at one point in his last, maybe the first time he ran, was talking about privatizing 401ks. Man, if he really wants to stick it, if he wants to stick it to the hedge funds, which I know he does based on his activity, and I do too, how awesome would it be for Trump to say, hey, everyone, you have until the end of this year, you can cash your 401k out, no penalty, put it into your own self-directed 401k, and invest in whatever you want. A lot of people can't stomach watching the market. I'm just used to it because it's my job, but like, and gas, similar, but like, could you imagine like everyone just taking their money out and then getting your 401k that's already built up, put to your own account that you can't touch to your 59 or 60 or whatever, and then go buy Tesla or go buy whatever, Microsoft, whatever. I mean, I wouldn't buy that crap company, but like, you could do anything. And like, think about that. Think of how much power that would take away from the BlackRocks of the world. I mean, shame on him for managing so many pensions, so many retirement funds, and coming out and openly trying to get the market to react in a negative way to something that should be eventually positive for us. And he knows it, but he can't because he's owned by China.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That would be amazing. That and no income tax.
That would be. What about it? I think it's hilarious he's going after old Jerome, because that dude's a piece of crap too.
Yeah, you can see it in his face.
Oh, he's such.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but Jerome.
No, but he looks like he's a deer in headlights. He's like just looks scared.
He's a part of the crew.
He is.
So, how much longer do you think he's going to be around? Do you think that you think he digs his heels in, or do you think he steps down if Trump tells him to or asks him to?
I mean, unfortunately, it's a separate the Federal Reserve is a completely separate corporation.
Yeah, he's got a 4-year term, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to listen to him, but Trump did say, I think yesterday or the day before, that if he asked him to step down, he would. Jerome Powell also said a week ago the answer to that question was no, but we'll see. We'll see.
It's disgusting. It's just, we're really seeing, a lot of these conspiracy theories and people that are, playing for the other side and this and that I always kind of knew were true. And I was like, no, maybe not. People think I'm crazy sometimes when I'm talking to them about it. But the more and more these things play out, I'm like, oh my gosh, the deep state tentacles are just so vast. It's amazing.
So vast, so deep. Can you imagine being Kash Patel or Pam Bondi? I know we discussed, where the arrest and, not being too enamored with their job so far, but can you imagine what they're actually dealing with?
No.
I mean,
no, that's what keeps us going here, is the fact that we know that they are dealing with an unbelievable swamp, and it's tough to even comprehend it because all the underlings are still working against them, and it's going to take some time before they filter all that out. But at the same time,
they're making deals with people too at the same time. Trump's going to have to make deals with people on the left and the right, protect them and this and that. He's got to play that game, or there's no end result.
Yeah.
It'll be 3
It would be
years.
nice to see some arrests, though.
It would be great. You'd think there'd be a couple layups right now, but I still think that they're going to do it all at once. And it's going to be a major event, one of the most impactful events in the history of the United States. That's what I'm praying for. I want to see them all go down.
Oh, that'd be so much fun. That'd be almost as much fun as
we'd have to do an in-person.
2024 was.
We have to do an in-person.
When I talk about this stuff, what video comes to my mind is when Trump and Hillary were at that 9/11 memorial. I think during when they were still going, the election wasn't done yet when he beat her, or maybe no, I think he was president. Maybe she came to the 9/11 memorial. Do you remember that? There's like a black.
And she kind of passed out or whatever. Was that the one you're talking about? She kind of passed out getting into the van.
There, and she left a shoe that There's all kinds of conspiracy theories that was her getting arrested, and she's who we see is not really her, and that she's actually arrested. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that was a weird video.
Yeah, I think. I'm gonna say no on that. I wish that was true, but
everyone said she was dehydrated and got
sick. She was a 70-year-old woman in the heat of September in New York. That makes sense, but I don't know. It'd be funny if it was.
Yeah, it would be. We'll never know.
No,
that's for sure.
What
else happened this week?
I think we had a third topic, right? Rory McIlroy. How about the Masters? Anybody watch the Masters out there? I see you
my hat today. Yeah, I was happy for him. I thought that was a great finish.
I was watching.
It was a great finish. He tried to lose it. He tried to lose it.
I put 75 on Rory on Friday and won 900 on that.
Woo!
Nice done. Wish I could do that with a lot more money.
I was with my family at a Forrest Frank concert, and you remember Neil Ford? Did you ever know him from Owens? Yeah, I was with him and his family, and we were watching it from the phone. Like the concert was about to start in like 30 minutes, and we were like, "Oh no, he missed the putt." Now we got.
Yeah, I didn't know him well, but yeah, so you were watching with him. Who'd he marry? He married somebody from Bowling.
Sarah Murphy. Sarah Murphy from Bowling. Yeah. Good family. Hey, that Forrest Frank concert was awesome. If he comes anywhere near y'all, I suggest going.
Was it fun?
Oh, dude, took the whole family. It was like going to church for 3 hours. It's great. Speaking of, happy Good Friday.
Yeah.
Yep. Big plans for the weekend?
We got. We're gonna go to mass on Sunday. My daughter sang yesterday at their living stations of the cross ceremony, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that girl can sing. I don't know where she got that from, but she's got it.
Yeah, my girls are singing at church on Sunday too.
Let's go. Send me a video.
That's sweet. Yeah,
I will.
See it.
Before we get off, if we touched on all these Democrats that voted against voter ID.
It's par for the course, isn't it? Par for the course, man. How could
all but 4? And so if you're a citizen of the United States and you are a humanitarian and you believe everybody should have all of these rights, why would we ever even have to vote if we have an open border? What are we talking about? It's clear that they're just trying to steal everything. So what is the logic in one's mind that would actually vote in a senator that votes against voter ID? What's the point in being in America or an American?
There's unfortunately an unbelievable amount of people in this country that are completely uninformed and don't pay attention to a thing. And when it comes to voter ID, the main talking point on the left is that it was racist to require everybody to show ID because not everyone can go out and get ID.
That is so dumb.
And people are like, yeah, that makes sense. That is the dumbest thing of all time.
I mean, this
country
voted in Obama.
Twice.
What percentage white are we? We voted in Obama. What are we talking about?
It goes back to our first segment, man. It's like the media is really good at dividing us over race.
That's all they do.
So no matter what, Donald Trump could literally come out tomorrow and go, I'm canceling federal income taxes. I'm doing this and that. I've won the tariff war with China. Yeah, I've come up with a cure for cancer. Like and they would still hate him just
Mhm.
because the media is
He
so
could
good.
provide universal wealth somehow where everybody's living in a $3 million equivalent condo today or house, and
Yeah.
they would not. It's nuts.
It's
Nuts.
but you know, if more people, I mean, if we could bring back this dude to the front of America like we were meant to be, you know, in God we trust, like, whew, think about that. If we had more just people in the media just bringing God back into our society and Jesus, like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like it would fix a lot of this. I just do. When you
Well, of course it would.
focus less on hate and more on the, you know, that this life, in my opinion, is, I don't need to get on my preacher soapbox, but this life is just our step into the eternal life, which is the real prize. And it's like, if people would live for heaven, like, they wouldn't be voting for this crap or like being okay with this stuff. There's no way.
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's a sad state of affairs we have going on right now. But I think we have an opportunity to turn it around. And like we said, there's a lot of people that are waking up, but there's a lot more that need to come
Yeah, I
along.
mean, like my mom said it best. She's like, America needs to come together. She said that 2 years ago, and it's true. And they just don't want us to because America's just being used.
Yep.
It's everybody's piggy bank, and it's time that it ends. So
now that you see all these tariffs get exposed and all these like NGOs get exposed, I mean, they literally just create nonstop chaos and division and tax us to death everywhere we turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we basically are through our taxes and our, I hate to say it, our stupidity as a whole, like, they use us to fund all this chaos in the world, and that's what they want. They don't want us focused. What is that? There's that saying from one of those Roman guys back in the day, and it was like, if you give them bread in a circus, they'll never revolt. I mean, it's like,
yeah, kind of like the NFL.
yeah,
They had that with the Coliseum and then an NFL packed stadium, and with
yeah,
that quote,
it's the same.
that really resonated with me. My mom was texting me about like football or something like that, and I was just not in the mood to talk sports because I was pissed off about whatever had happened that day, one of the million things. And I sent her that and just no response.
No response. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that get mad at me when I talk about that. They're like, "Why don't you play fantasy football?" I'm like, I don't care about sports. I do some, but care about.
I stopped doing that, and I think it was 2016 with the whole kneeling
and all that
thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that was 2016, I think, right?
I did too, and then I got back into it this year and last year. Regretfully.
Yeah.
I'm a pushover.
But. Yeah. I just, I don't know. I haven't missed it.
Yeah. There's nothing to miss.
Yeah.
Being 44 years old, arguing about a 20-year-old that's making $20 million a year instead of talking about making some money. What are we talking about? Yeah. We're past middle age, fellas.
I told my buddies when I left, I was like, you know what we should do? And I think I was like, I should invent this a long time ago. I wish I did. I think someone did it, but they're not marketing it right. But I was like, instead of fantasy football, let's all throw 10 grand in a separate stock account. And each week, let's see who's performing the best. And everyone gets paid out each week based on performance. And then we're talking about stocks. We're talking together about the market, and maybe we'll all make better financial decisions.
There you go. Read more about it, paying more attention. Speaking of bad financial decisions, did you guys see the Tennessee quarterback, the info on that?
Oh, what's the latest? I mean, I did see,
supposedly, this is just, the last thing I read is that he is going to sign with UCLA for $1 million. Now, that also, you have to take into consideration the California taxes. So it's he is the worst move in the history of the world. He gave up $2.2 million a year trying to get $4 million, and now he's going to settle for $1 million in California, where the taxes are significantly higher than Tennessee.
When I first heard that, I was like, man, I wish Stoops would just go offer him $3 million.
Yeah.
Because I've always said, like, if we could just pay some just awesome quarterback, just come one season, like, I feel like it would just help.
He's got 2 years left eligibility, maybe 3, 2 or
Yeah.
3, at least 2. But
While
yeah,
we're on the subject, Kentucky's basketball team's looking like they're pretty good. If you look at odds to win 2026, we're tied for 7th best odds to win the tournament.
Yeah.
No
They look
kidding,
good, man. That Alabama cat, that was a big get.
Yeah.
I hope Oweh doesn't get drafted.
Yeah, we need Oweh to come back.
Yeah.
I really was hoping we got that one kid. Who was it that actually ended up going to Indiana?
Who was that?
He shot like 44% from 3, and I forget where he went, what his name was, but he chose Indiana over us. It came down to Kentucky and IU, and it was 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay. Aren't we going after that St. John's kid too, apparently?
I don't know. I would be surprised if Pope was going after Pitino's players.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder how that would work out.
Pitino's been pretty good to him, so as far as promoting the hiring.
My brother-in-law
he won the
texted me
national
while we
championship
were on
with him.
here that Rylan Griffin from Kansas is visiting Kentucky, the guard. That dude's supposedly pretty good.
Yeah, we got that kid from Pitt. He looks legit. He's a playmaker.
Yeah, he is good. That Tulane dude might be a little sleeper.
Yeah.
We talked about him last time, Cam.
He's a big boy. He's 6'8".
Is our football team going to be any good, or are we going to be
I've been going to those games since I was 4 years old, sitting with my grandparents in the cold rain, and we couldn't leave until the clock hit 0. And we'd just be getting smashed. And I'd be like, ugh.
Yeah.
I was never a huge Kentucky football fan. I enjoy it when they do well, and I like the games, but I don't ever put a lot of expectation into that. I just know we're just going to get beat to shit for a whole season.
At least you're not a
SEC's
Kentucky
no joke.
fan and a Titans fan.
No. SEC's no joke, and it's just gotten worse. It's gotten bigger with even more great teams.
More
Oklahoma,
power.
Texas. What?
Yeah. It's tough to compete, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, boys, I think that's a good spot to wrap up episode 3 and reconvene in a few days, especially on some of these topics that are just playing out right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week, I think.
Yep.
Let's just hope we have a quiet weekend so we can all enjoy Easter. And I'm going to lay off Twitter this weekend because yesterday it was just depression den. Every time I opened it up, I was just like, oh.
Maybe
that's pretty much every day on Twitter, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it has its moments, but yesterday was just especially and it was mainly like I could just tell, like we talked about, like this Karmelo thing is going to turn into a whole racial war over just him stabbing a dude that's unarmed. Like I'm just like, what? No, what's going on?
All right. Well, you all have a good Easter. Talk to
you too, man.
You too. Happy Easter, everybody.
See you guys.
See you guys.